Welcome children. In today's class of biology, I am going to continue the question answers of the lesson Nutrition in Organism. Once again we will revise it, okay? So in this lesson, the main concept is on nutrition. Nutrition, what is nutrition? What are the different types of nutrition? What is autotrophic nutrition? What is heterotrophic nutrition? What is holozoic nutrition? What is saprophytic nutrition? What are symbionts? And what is digestion that takes place in amoeba and human beings. So these are the different topics that are covered in this lesson. Okay, and now once I will repeat what is the topic about, that is nutrition. Nutrition means the utilization, intake and utilization of the nutrients by living organism. What is nutrition, children? Nutrition means it is intake and utilization of nutrients or the food. So the nutrients are present in the food that we take in. Intake and utilization of the food. By whom? By living organisms. Intake and utilization of food by living organisms is called as nutrition. How many types of nutrition are there? There are two types. One is autotrophic mode of nutrition and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Autotrophic mode of nutrition and the second one is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So coming to autotrophic mode of nutrition. Autotrophs means, auto means self preparation of food by themselves. So plants, green plants, especially green plants, prepare their food by themselves. They make use of the carbon dioxide in the air, water from the soil, and in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, they prepare their own food. This type of preparation of food by the organisms by themselves is called as photosynthesis. Is it clear? So the process of preparation of food by the living organisms by themselves, this mode of nutrition is called as autotrophic mode of nutrition. So examples are green plants. Green plants exhibit autotrophic mode of nutrition. Here you have also studied that the plants with the leaves other than green also perform photosynthesis. Yes or no? Yes. How can you say whether the plants with the leaves other than green also perform photosynthesis? For this you have done a simple experiment that you have taken the yellow colored or brown colored leaves, isn't it? Orange, yellow colored, brown colored leaves, you have taken it. You have made a pulp of these leaves and extracted the paste. You have taken the paste of the pulp of these leaves and taken the extract of it and added a few drops of this extract in a test tube, and to which you have added dilute iodine solution, 2 drops of dilute iodine solution to test the presence of starch. That is, presence of starch or the glucose is the food that is being prepared by the plants, isn't it? So simple sugars are converted, the complex, the starch is being converted to simple sugars. So here the starch that is being prepared by the green plants is being tested by using the chemical dilute iodine solution. When you use this chemical, when you put 2 drops of dilute iodine solution in the extract of the paste that you have formed, it turns to dark blue or black. Then it confirms the presence of starch, that is preparation of food by these leaves. So the leaves other than green can also that is participate or perform photosynthesis. You can say that the greens, so the leaves other than green color also perform photosynthesis by this simple experiment. Okay, next coming to the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Heteros means others. The preparation, the nutrition that is taken from the others, that is either plants or other animals, the organisms which take the food from either plants or other animals. This is called as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. This is being performed by the plants lab, in which you can see the different types of plants like saprophytic plants, insectivorous plants, parasitic plants and symbionts. So heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Heterotrophic mode of nutrition. The mode of nutrition in which the organisms depend on other organisms for food. This is called as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In this again there are types like parasites, symbionts, saprophytes, symbionts. So another type is there, that is insectivorous, but these are autotrophic and also heterotrophic. How I will say in detail. Okay, insectivorous plants. So in plants you have seen the parasitic plants. The example is Cuscuta. Cuscuta is the best example for parasitic plants. These parasitic plants depend on the host plant, that is green plants, for their food. That is, these plants do not have neither leaves nor chlorophyll. That means they cannot prepare their own food. So they depend on other plants which prepare the food for them and derive the energy from them, and in such case the host plant becomes the food for these plants, and gradually it leads to the destruction of the host plant. Okay, so this is how the parasitic plant get their food from the host plant. That is, they have the roots which penetrate into the deeper layers of the tissues of the host plant and take the food from the host plant. Okay, so these roots of the parasitic plant are called as haustoria, which penetrate into the deeper layers of the tissues of the host plant and take the food from the host plants. So these are called as parasites. Okay, Urabanthe also is a very good example for parasitic mode of nutrition. And next, coming to saprophytes. Saprophytes example is mushrooms. Belongs to fungi family. Okay, mushrooms are the best example for saprophytes. So these saprophytes also, they do not have neither leaves nor chlorophyll. So they also do not prepare their own food. The next question arises, then how these plants get their food? These plants get their food from the dead and decayed organic matter. Dead and decayed organic matter. So these plants take the food from them and the digestive juices that are produced from the dead organisms and digest them and return the nutrients into the soil again. Okay, these are about the saprophytes. Since they return the nutrients again to the soils and depend on the dead plants and animals and clean the environment, they are called as natural scavengers too. Okay, in such a manner they clean up the environment. Coming to the symbionts. Symbionts, it is a relationship between two organisms for food and shelter. It is a relationship, how that relationship takes place. It's a symbiotic relationship. The organisms which exhibit the symbiotic relationship are called as symbionts. What are they called, children? They are called as symbionts. The relationship between two organisms takes place for what? For either food and shelter. Food and shelter. For example, leguminous plants. Leguminous plants like bean, peas, etc. What they have? They have the bacteria at their root nodules. At their root nodules, they have the bacteria. They are called as nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Okay, and lichens are also very good examples for symbionts. So see here, groundnuts, beans, or they contain the bacteria present in their roots. They take the shelter in the roots and they give nitrogen to the plants. That means here there is a symbiotic relationship for food and shelter between the two organisms. Two organisms exhibiting the symbiotic relationship is called as symbiont. Okay, and next lichen. It is an algae and fungi. Algae and fungi, they exhibit the symbiotic relationship where algae gives food to the fungi, then fungi take the shelter within the algae. The plant is lichens. Okay, so the relationship is for food and shelter. Okay, that is about the symbionts. Hope you have understood this also. Rhizobium bacteria, they fix the bacteria for the plants. Okay, so they are called as rhizobium bacteria, which are present in the leguminaceae plants. Next, coming to the insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants are the plants which grow in the areas deficient of nitrogen. You know very well, the plants require the nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and all. These are the nutrients, micronutrients, which are essential for the plants. So they take the nutrients from the soil along with the water. But these insectivorous plants, they lack nitrogen. Why do they lack nitrogen? Because the soil where they grow, that is deficient of nitrogen. So how do these plants get nitrogen? These plants get nitrogen from the insects. How do they take nitrogen from the insects? They take the nitrogen from the insects by modifying their leaves in such a manner to trap the insects. By modifying their leaves in such a manner to trap the insects. For this also you can give an example of pitcher plant, Utricularia, Venus flytrap and so on. These are the examples. What is it? Venus flytrap. Venus flytrap, Utricularia, Nepenthes, which is called as pitcher plant. Okay, so for this, there are so many others also. If you see this is a pitcher plant. So it has the plant. Okay, the leaves also there. They can prepare their own food because they are green in color. These plants prepare their own food. Okay, but when this contains a picture like this, where when an insect comes near the plant, then what happens? It closes its lid. It contains a lid over. It closes its lid and takes the insect inside so that it can digest it, and they get the nitrogen from the insects. Okay, so this is the pitcher plant, and also you can see the Venus flytrap. This is like a shell. This is like a shell, children. So you can see this. And when an insect comes near it, what does it do? It closes its shell like this. Okay, so this is Venus flytrap. Once again, I'll show you. Venus flytrap. This is a Venus flytrap. It's like a shell. It closes its shell when an insect comes and near it. This is Venus flytrap. Its leaves are modified in such a manner that it can trap the insect. Okay, so this is how you will understand there are different types of plants which exhibit the different modes of nutrition. Green plants exhibit photosynthesis and they contain the autotrophic mode of nutrition. Other than green plants, which the leaves contain the other colors like yellow or orange, they mask the green color which is present in them because they also contain the starch present in it. They prepare the food by themselves. But there are certain plants which cannot prepare their food by themselves. They are called as heterotrophic. They exhibit heterotrophic mode of nutrition, which it is again divided into different types like parasites, symbionts, saprophytes and so on. So these parasites depend on the host plant and take the food from the tissues of the host plant by penetrating the roots called hostoria into their tissues. And next, saprophytes. Saprophytes depend on dead and decayed organic matter and get their food from the dead and decayed organic matter itself. Okay, and so these examples are mushrooms. Symbionts or leguminous plants or lichens, there is an interrelationship between the two organisms for food and shelter. So this is a symbiotic relationship. And the next, insectivorous plants or the plants which lack nitrogen. They grow in the areas which lack nitrogen, that is deficient of nitrogen. And these plants, though they prepare their own food, as they are green in color, they can prepare their own food, but depend on the insects for food by trapping the insects, where their leaves are modified in such a manner so as easy to trap the insects. Okay, so these are Venus flytrap, Utricularia, Nepenthes, Sanju and so on. There are so many other plants like this. So this is about the nutrition that is performed in the plants. Now we'll see the nutrition in animals. How the nutrition takes place in animals. Animals are unicellular and multicellular organisms. So unicellular organisms are the organisms in which all the life processes are performed by the single cell, as in case of amoeba. Amoeba contains only a single cell where all the life processes are performed by the single cell. Amoeba is irregular in shape. Amoeba is irregular in shape. Okay, so it contains the pseudopodia, these projections of their body. They are called as pseudopodia. Where do you find this amoeba? You find in pond water or in the aquatic bodies. So it is a unicellular organism. So what is the nutrition in amoeba? You are going to see now. In general, all the animals, so in heterotrophic nutrition, animals take the food from outside and digest the food inside the body. The process of intake of food from outside and digesting it inside the body of the living organism, that is called as holozoic nutrition. What is it called, children? It is called as holozoic nutrition. Up to now we have studied about the parasitic mode of nutrition, saprophytic mode of nutrition, insectivorous mode of nutrition, and again other one is symbiotic. Now you are going to learn about the holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition is a nutrition in which the food is taken from outside. It may be the solid or liquid food. It may be the solid or liquid food. The food is taken from outside and digested inside the body of the living organism. So here in amoeba, which lives in an aquatic environment, it has a body irregular in shape and body parts contains the cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus and food vacuoles. Okay, so these are pseudopodia. This is cytoplasm, which is a liquid fluid present inside the body of the cell body, inside the cell body. This is nucleus, spherical structure present inside the body of the living organism. Okay. So these are the cell organelles present inside, where the food vacuole is present. Further, that is the digestion that takes place inside the body of the organism. Now we will see how the nutrition takes place in amoeba. In amoeba, nutrition takes place. First, it takes the food from outside and nutrition takes place inside. The various steps that undergo in the holozoic nutrition is that holozoic nutrition, in holozoic mode of nutrition, the various steps that are undergone are, the first step is ingestion. What is the first step? Ingestion. That means intake of food. Intake of food is called as ingestion. Next, digestion. Conversion of complex substances into simple substances. That is larger molecules into smaller molecules. It takes place in the process of digestion. Next process that carries on, the life processes that undergo are absorption. Absorption. After absorption, so that is absorption means the food that is digested becomes the part of the body. Okay, so digested food becomes the part of the body during absorption. Next, assimilation. After, that is when it is absorbed into the blood. First, during absorption, the food is absorbed into the blood and the absorbed food becomes the part of the body during the assimilation. Absorption and assimilation processes involves the food that is digested first absorbed into the blood and then the absorbed blood nutrients into the blood should become the part of the body. That takes place during assimilation. And finally, the waste material should come out of the body. That process is called as egestion. Egestion is the release of waste material from the body. That is called as egestion. Okay, children? So these are the steps that are involved in the holozoic nutrition. First is ingestion, intake of food. Next is digestion, conversion of complex substances into simple substances. Then absorption, the food is absorbed into the blood. Then the nutrients from the food is absorbed into the blood. Then digested and absorbed food becomes the part of the body. Then waste material is released out of the body through the excretory organs. These are the steps involved in the holozoic nutrition. Now I said how the nutrition takes place in amoeba. In amoeba, the pseudopodia are the organs which helps to capture the food and for locomotion. Okay, so this pseudopodia, how it takes place. So the food comes into contact with the pseudopod. So when the food is available, it enlarges, it brings its one of the organ towards the food particle and then that is ingests it and ingests through its pseudopod. Ingestion takes place in the first process. Okay, and then it develops in the digestion process, it develops that is a vacuole around the food. Food vacuole is developed. Food vacuole is developed. Okay, this is the food vacuole. It is developed in it. This is called as digestion. Here the digestion process takes place. Then what happens? Absorption. During absorption, what happens? The food mixes with the blood. It mixes with the blood inside. Okay. And next, this is absorption. Next, assimilation. During the process of assimilation in this amoeba, the food becomes a part of the body in itself. It becomes a part of the body. That is called as assimilation. Then finally, what happens? Egestion. So, this through the pseudopoid cell. This is called as digestion. This is how the nutrition takes place in amoeba. So, ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and digestion. So, this continues. This is the mode of holozoic nutrition in amoeba. Next, coming to the nutrition in the human body. Where does it start? For knowing this, you should know about the parts of the digestive system. In the human body also, the holozoic nutrition takes place. That is, we take either solid food or liquid food. That is from outside. Food intake is from outside and digestion takes place inside the body of the living organism. Digestion takes place inside the body of the living organism. As you know very well. So this is the digestive tract. So okay children, so you can see this mouth part. Food is intaken through the mouth and inside the mouth here this is a buccal cavity. This is the part where you contain the teeth, tongue, etc. where the first digestion takes place in the buccal cavity with the action of the salivary juices or the salivary glands that produces the salivary juices. Here the carbohydrate digestion takes place in the buccal cavity itself. Okay, and then in the mouth you have 4 kinds of teeth. What are they? Incisors, canines, premolars and molars. Incisors help the food to bite. Canine teeth, you will tear the food with the help of the canine teeth. Premolars and molars are helpful for the grinding and crushing the food. Okay, so in this manner the food is crushed and chewed well in the mouth, and in the buccal cavity the first part of the digestion takes place. Okay, then the food moves through this chamber. This is the first part. This is the pharynx. Pharynx, which is the connective chamber between the stomach and the esophagus. This is the esophagus. And here you find the stomach. Okay, this is stomach where the food protein digestion takes place in the stomach. Okay, here it contains HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, which kills the bacteria that is present in the food here inside the stomach. And this vent loop here, it is called as duodenum. It is the first part of the small intestine. Duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. Above you find the 2 glands. 2 glands you find. This is called as liver. And here below it, see here ma, this is liver, and below it you find another gland called a leaf-like structure below the stomach. This is the pancreas. This is the pancreas. They secrete, the liver secretes bile juice and pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. So these act upon the food and digest the food. Then this here, the first part of the small intestine is moved over, and it is the next convolutions that are made into the small intestine in our intestinal region. Yes, see this children. A small appendix which is not fully developed in the human body. Okay. digested in the small intestine, and absorbed through the projections, thousands of projections that are present in the small intestine, they are called as villi. Okay, so this is the large intestine. So here the food moves through the stomach and again small intestine, where the villi absorbs the digested food and undigested food reaches the large intestine over here. Okay, and the waste material is stored in the rectum and finally released through the organ called anus. This is how digestion takes place in the human beings. So after digestion, first of all, this digestive system, you have to maintain this digestive system by taking proper food and proper healthy habits. Hygienic and proper healthy habits are required to overcome the digestive problems. Okay, so many digestive problems that arise like acidity, the gastric problems, isn't it? Gastric problems and first of all you may say that you have stomach ache or the chest, something as the burning sensation in your chest like that you may feel. These are the problems of the digestive system itself. Okay, so soreness in your mouth or vomiting sensations, these diarrhea or the dysentery, all these are related to the digestive problems, and often the liver pancreatic problems also arise due to the digestive, any problems in the digestive tract. Okay, so you have to follow certain healthy habits to have your digestive system in a proper condition. For this, healthy eating habits are to be developed. You have to maintain your health in a proper condition. Avoid unhealthy and irregular meals first. Minimize the intake of spicy food and check that intake of the sweets, soft drinks and sugar products so that your teeth will be protected from decaying. Okay, you know that the sweets, they develop the lactic acid in you and the enamel is being damaged if you eat more sweets, soft drinks, etc. So avoid eating them more. Avoid stress and strain. This is also the cause for acidity in your body and the stomach. So you have to practice regular exercise, avoid stress and strain, and also Vajrasana is a very good exercise for the circulation of blood, children. So this helps for the digestion of your food properly also. So try to do the Vajrasana, and it is a simple asana that everyone can do, and even you can do at after eating the food also. So this helps you for proper blood circulation and also helps you to increase the digestive capacity. So, and also the thing that you have to avoid is improper meal, that is timely, you have to take timely meals. Irregular meals should be avoided. Okay, and also irregular sleep. You have to sleep at time, that is early to bed and early to rise, as you have studied in the smaller classes itself, presented in your play class itself, you have studied it. Makes you healthy, wealthy and wise, isn't it? Early to bed, early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy and wise. So you have to keep it for lifetime. That rhyme is very, very important to maintain your lifestyle in a proper manner. Avoid smoking, cigarettes and also alcohol. They also cause various diseases of the digestive system like liver, pancreas, intestinal cancers, and even you have to avoid the chocolates, eating chocolates, sweets and soft drinks to avoid the throat cancer or the cancer that occurs to the teeth and tongue. Okay, so you should avoid irregular meals, irregular sleep at proper time. Okay, so rest, proper rest is needed. And next you have to, next one is cigarette smoking, alcohol, intake of alcohol should be avoided. Gutka, pan bidi, all this, tobacco, Taking in tobacco also should be avoided. So these, if you avoid it, your digestive system will be healthy. And if your body is healthy, then your mind will be healthy. Healthy body leads to healthy mind. So practice a good lifestyle. So have a good manners, good habits, practice in your day-to-day life, and continue to have a healthy lifestyle to avoid the digestive problems. Okay, children, and with this I have completed the lesson of nutrition in organisms, and all the question answers are being covered through this topic. And if you have any doubts, you can call me personally and you can clarify your doubts. Okay, children, and so you put up a WhatsApp message or you can call me also. So the questions that already you know, the textual questions, try to read and write them carefully. Okay, so in the next class we'll meet with the next new lesson. Till then, stay safe, stay at home safely. Okay, thank you, children.